Quick note before the video begins, this video contains spoilers for the following series: Attack on Titan, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Hunger Games trilogy, and of course, the Winners trilogy. Okay, that's it, enjoy the video. Yes, you've read the title right. I think that the Winners trilogy, a series of books written by Mary Rutkowski, I hope that I pronounced that right, is an overrated garbage. Now, before I explain my opinion, I want to take a look at what a good story is and what a good story should be. Now, I'm a comic artist and a novel writer. And when I write, I want to make my story feel polished. And I want it not to be predictable. Let's take as an example a few of my favorite stories in general. Let's start with Attack on Titan. I think you all heard of that name. It's an anime that greatly represents what a polished, unpredictable story should be, in my opinion. Now, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. To avoid spoilers, skip to the following time frame you see on the screen right now. Now, as an example, when it's revealed that Rainer and Bertold are the Armored Titan and the Colossal Titan, that really surprised me, honestly. I really couldn't see how they could have been the Titans, but later on, when you see why they did what they did, and it explores their past and like the overall story a bit further, you realize that it makes sense, and that's just one of many examples of what I think is good writing overall. It wasn't predictable, it was surprising, and it actually made sense at the end. So what I like to do with the stories I love is, whether it's books like or anime or a manga, I like to reread or rewatch it. Then every time I do, I notice a few more details, a few more things that I hadn't seen previously. Attack on Titan is no exception for this. When I rewatched it and reread the manga, I noticed so many small details, small foreshadowings that were there. Now, maybe the writer added it later so that it looks like it was foreshadowing, but it's still, you need talent to do that, you know. And the story, after I reread it, it just looks better in my eyes, you know. Now, another example of a good story is the Hunger Games trilogy, a series of books written by Susan Collins, one of my favorite writers. I've read all the books 2 or 3 times, and I love them. I love the Hunger Games trilogy, except for the last book, but we don't talk about that one. So the book series starts by introducing the main character, Katniss, and District 12, the place where she lives, as well as a few other important characters, such as her sister Prim and her best friend Gale. It introduces the characters in a very good way and sets up their personalities, such as Katniss's love for her sister, which led her to volunteer in place for her sister to participate in the Hunger Games. An act that we learn is very, very rare. Like really rare, like shiny Pokemon rare. Yeah. So character development is very well implemented in this book, and most importantly, it's not predictable. Until I was halfway through the final book, I wasn't sure if Katniss will end up with Gale or with Pita, another one of the main characters. All of these examples are examples of what I think the Winners trilogy lacks, or it doesn't implement it in a good way. The last book I want to mention before we start talking about the Winners trilogy is one of my personal favorite books of all time, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And the overall Hitchhiker's trilogy is just a masterpiece. And when I say that, trust me, it is. Like, I'm just really amazed by that book. It's above everything else in my opinion, and I love the series. I would recommend it 100 times to everyone. It's hilarious, and the plot is really random, but in a good way. Uh, I won't say anything else about it, since I really think you should read it yourself. But trust me, it's if you want to read something, go read The Hunger Games or The Hitchhiker's Guide instead of The Winner's Trilogy, because now we will talk about the failure that is The Winner's Trilogy. The Winner's Trilogy is a series of books written by Marie Rudkowski that consists of 3 books: The Winner's Curse, The Winner's Crime, and The Winner's Kiss. The book starts similar to The Hunger Games by introducing our main characters and setting up their personalities. Our MC1 is a rich girl called Kestrel, a daughter of a famous general Tryon, and she and her best friend Jess are hanging out, in the city, going around their like stuff and whatever. When Kestrel hears a slave seller of some kind, yeah. He calls people around him together because he wants to sell these slaves that he owns. This sets up what kind of world that is, and it sets itself up in a very good way, actually. The continent of Valoria, it's the biggest country around, which conquered all the smaller countries that were around it and enslaved their citizens. In those slaves can be bought or sold or used however people like. So they can also be those slaves can also be freed, which is a rarity, but it does happen, as we learn from the books. And even Kestrel herself, she freed a slave once, a babysitter that looked after her when she was younger. But anyway, back to the beginning. I'm getting sidetracked right now. So Kestrel comes close to that slave seller, and just as he shows Arin, a blacksmith slave that, quote, can sing. Kestrel tries to buy him for like some small amount, since her father needs a blacksmith, but others know Kestrel and her father, and because she's from that rich and respected family, so they think that because she wants to buy that slave must be some ultra mega useful kind of a slave. So they all want to buy him, and they offer more and more and more. Yeah, and then Kestrel snaps, and she buys him for a ridiculous price, like ultra mega giga big fucking price, So okay, let's say you go into a store to buy like a Snickers, okay, but there is only one left, and then one guy in front of you, he bought it, okay, but you're so desperate to get that Snickers. You really, 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 really want that Snickers. You want it so badly, in fact, that you would sell your soul to Satan himself for that Snickers. You would go into the shadow realm to get that Snickers, okay? So that's how much you want that Snickers, okay? You would even kill to get that Snickers. You would slap your mom. Okay, I think you get the point. But you can't. You cannot do that to get the Snickers. So you give the guy in front of you like $5,000 for one Snickers. That's basically what she did, okay? Now, why did she want that blacksmith so badly? Not because her father just needed a blacksmith, but for that quote that he can sing. Like, okay. That kind of like burns my head, alright? That guy, just because he could sing and is hot, she paid that ridiculous amount of price for him. But all right, that was actually done pretty well because it shows us what kind of a person Kestrel is. She cares about her public image and is known to make irrational decisions. Which shows here, like it's really irrational to buy that guy for it's irrational to buy a sneakers for $5,000. Okay. On the other hand, it also shows us what kind of a person Arin, the blacksmith, who, quote, knows how to sing, is, because he refuses to say a word to Kestrel and he refuses to listen to her. An act that, if it was any other master, would result in whipping like 100 times, or even like cutting fingers, or some serious kind of torture for that behavior, which shows us what kind of a person Arin is. And since Kestrel is his master, she just ignores his act of rebellion, and she proceeds to go home and sends Arin to where the other slaves live. And this shows how she is kind of forgiving and not really cruel, while Arin, on the other hand, is resistant and rebellious, even when he knows that he will be seriously punished. Now, this beginning, it sets up the story, as I said, pretty well, in my opinion. Maybe even, surprisingly, better than the Hunger Games. Yeah. The next few chapters were actually amazing. Like, I was hooked on this book, around the first 10 chapters. The story, it became better and better constantly. We met a few more important characters, such as Jess's brother Ronan, aka the best character in the book series. Period. Or Irex, aka the tough douchebag guy that you were supposed to, hate, for reasons that I'll explain a bit later on. Now, we find out that the Jess's brother Ronan has a huge crush on Kestrel, and Kestrel actually knows that. She even says that at one point that he would be a perfect husband, perfect for her. Now, I should explain now the rule that is in this land of Veloria. Now, in this country, everyone has to do one of two things. This rule also is the sole reason why Valoria's military power is the strongest in the world. So what are those two things? One, go serve in the army, or get married before you turn 20. Now, Kestrel, of course, she wants to get married to someone, just because she does not want to be in the army with her father, who is a general, and he forces her to join the army. Kestrel loves to play piano, while her father doesn't like the sound of it. So they make a deal. Kestrel will join the army on summer unless she gets married. Even though by the law, she still has like 2 years in exchange, like 2 years before she needs to get married, And in exchange for her setting up a time limit for herself, like until summer, and I think she's like 18 in the books or something, maybe 17. Anyway, the point is, she agrees that until summer, she will either get married or join the army. That's like 2 years earlier than by law she has to do it. And in exchange, her father won't force her to train, nor he will complain about the piano, So yeah, it was kind of a shit deal, but okay. Now back to Ronan and Kestrel. Ronan likes Kestrel, as I said before, and he's really charming, and he has probably the best sense of humor out of every character in the books. We learn from Jess that Ronan actually plans to propose to Kestrel pretty soon, because he learned from Jess, Kestrel's best friend, that Kestrel made that deal with her father. So yeah, he wants to propose to her, and he knows that she literally said that he's the perfect husband, you know? The perfect opportunity for her. Now, at this point, the book was, to me, at its peak. Everything from now on goes downhill. From now on, most decisions are so irrational, stupid, and just straight up fucking predictable, you know? Like, the book does this thing where it tries to be dramatic, and it really fucks up, you know? Aaron, the blacksmith, that slave guy, is a fucking asshole, especially to Kestrel. He never listens to her, and he always is like rude to her for no reason, you know. I understand that like he's a slave and all, but like Kestrel doesn't even ask him to do anything. She's very kind to him and even gives him the freedom to go around the city. I think literally no slaves can do. Now here's where the bullshit starts. Kestrel, out of nowhere, starts having a crush on the fucking blacksmith. Like, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? Aaron said to her, face to face, that he hates her. Like, from the bottom of his soul, he hates Kestrel. And she just likes him out of literally nowhere. Like, this guy, he didn't say anything, he didn't do anything nice to this bitch, you know? And she's still, like, out of fucking nowhere, like, one page, she nothing. You turn the page, she just has a crush on him. For no reason. And then the worst fucking thing happens. Ronan, he proposes to Kestrel, like, the day after. Or something like that. At a ball, you know, like there was this big ball where everyone was invited. He proposes her. And now, prepare, okay? He asks, Kestrel, will you marry me? She says no. And leaves. That, by the way, was not shortened. That's the whole scene! That's straight from the book. Literally, like, this scene that's supposed to be dramatic, it lasts 2 fucking sentences. Or 3, like 3 sentences for the whole scene. Ronan asks, will you marry me? She says no. She leaves. That's the scene. What the fuck? Like, my head won't, like, it wanted to explode. Like, I wanted to just tear apart this book at this moment, okay? And it's not like the book doesn't know how to be dramatic. There's this duel between Kestrel and Erex. The duel! So this duel was one of the best scenes in the book. Like, this duel was described so good, and it was, like, really dramatic in a good way, you know? I was on the edge of my seat. Or should I say bed, because I was reading the book in my bed. Never mind. The point is, this proposal scene should have been way more dramatic, since it had a big build-up to it. And it actually left a big impact on the series and on many characters. Pretty much all the important characters. Now, even worse happens, okay? The reason for Kestrel refusing Ronan was because out of fucking nowhere, again, she started liking Aaron so much, and right after she refuses Ronan, she goes to Aaron, cries, and kisses this motherfucker, you know? She kisses Arin. Like, what's wrong with her? Like, I'm so mad that she exists. This thing is, like, I knew this was going to happen in some way or another, or at some point. But not like this, like, out of fucking nowhere. And I tried to give this book another chance, you know, after this. I took a bit of a break and then I continued reading. And I kept reading. And I hoped that the books would eventually stop being so stupid and predictable. And like full of this just random, irrational shit out of nowhere, you know? But oh boy, was I wrong! First of all, Arin fucking poisons everyone. Jess and Ronan barely survive since plot armor. Then, remember that guy from the beginning, the one who sold Aaron to Kestrel in the first place? Well, him and Arin actually planned a revolution or something. Blah blah blah, chaos, blah blah blah. Kestrel is taken hostage by Arin. Arin, like, he's with Kestrel now, but he takes her hostage. And the guy who sold Arin, he's actually Arin's best friend. And then she thinks about, you know, like Kester thinks about everything, and she decides that she loves and hates Arin at the same time. Then that motherfucker who sold Arin, who's Arin's best friend, by the way, he wants to do things to Kestrel. You know? Things. But Arin comes just in time, and he's faced with a decision. And in like 1 millisecond, he decides to kill his best friend. Even though Kestrel is literally the most dangerous person they could keep alive and as a hostage overall. After some time, Kestrel makes an escape plan, and Arin has a chance to stop her. But of course, he doesn't. He just lets her live. Why were you holding her as a hostage in the first place? When you let her live by her own, you know, on her own. Like, no resistance at all. Okay. Then, Kestrel tells everyone about the revolution after she escapes. And she goes straight up to the king. The king of the biggest country, of the most dangerous country and the most powerful one. She just goes like, yo, what's up, king? You know, like, she just is there in front of the king, who doesn't like have any guards around him. But all right. And Kestrel, she's like, we'll make a deal. I will marry your son, and you don't kill Arin. And King is like, all right, okay, whatever. And she just, yeah, that's how she saves Arin. And not only that, but like she gives like the authority to that small revolutionary group that Arin leads. They like are not slaves anymore, you know. They get like their own rights and everything for no fucking reason. But okay. Long story short, Kestrel predictably gets together by the end of the series with Arin, and they have a child. Now, except for this last sentence, every single thing that happened until now was in book 1. Only the first book. Oh god, I fucking hate this series. Like, I wasted so much time reading it and giving it chances. Constantly. And it disappointed me so much. Like, I just had to make this video. There were so many times the book could have been good. Could have turned out well. So many chances. But it literally failed every single time. For example, there's this scene in the second book where a guy knocks out Arin and traps him in a cell. Then, when he wakes up, he tries to kill Arin when he wakes up, He was unconscious for like an hour. And this guy stands there and watches him unconscious. And he waits that Arin wakes up and then he tries to kill Arin. Even though he could have done it in the span of an hour. Because Arin has no weapons. And even though Arin just woke up, he doesn't even know where he is. And he hits Arin, but only scratches his face. And then, of course, Arin ends up killing the motherfucker. Like, how is this guard even a fucking guard? But of course, Arin's plot armor protects him from a direct hit in the head, and even though he was unconscious for an hour, that guard probably tried to kill him, but the plot armor was so strong he couldn't. So he waited for him to wake up. So yeah, after this exact scene, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I had to get this out of me, since I wasted hours reading this shitty series, and I fucking regret it. In conclusion, don't read the Winner's Trilogy. Just go read a good book. Just go read Hunger Games. Okay? Bye. Go read Hunger Games. Please. Bye.